There's a nice shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is actually sung by the Vanaras. And you all know the Vanaras. The Vanaras are actually what we call today a monkey-like race. They were not monkeys, but they were monkey-like race. And they were the ones who came forward to serve Lord Ram in Ramayana. And the leader, of course, was Sugriva. But the most important Vanara is Hanumanji. And that is why eternally, wherever we see Sitaram Lakshman, we will always see Hanumanji. In many parts of our culture, Hanumanji is revered even more than Lord Ram. And Lord Ram becomes very pleased when his devotee is venerated and exalted and glorified even more than the Lord himself. That is actually the tradition of our sampradayas. Because it is stated in Bhagavatam, Krishna says this to Durvasa Muni, Aham bhakta paradino, hi asvatantra ivadvija, sadhu bir grasta hridayo, bhaktai bhakta janapriya. So he says this very nice point. Why was he speaking to Durvasa? Because if you recall, Durvasa Muni was very impetuous and he was very offensive to Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj was a great king and he was a great devotee of the Lord. He had taken a 48-day fast and he was going to break it. And then suddenly Durvasa came. And when Durvasa came, Ambarish Maharaj felt compelled and obliged to say, Durvasa Muni, please break fast with me. Like today it's Ekadeshi, many of us are fasting. So the point of breaking fast is very important for us. And at the point of breaking fast, you have a certain time to break fast. And you must break it within that time. And if it's Ekadeshi, right, you have several spectrums of Ekadeshi fast. You have a full fast, you have water. But generally speaking, the minimum you go to is you don't take grains during Ekadeshi, right? So therefore, if you break fast, you could break fast with water, you could break fast with non-grains tomorrow morning. So in the same way, Ambarish Maharaj was supposed to break fast. And at that point of time, Durvasa Muni said, I will go and take bath with my thousands of disciples. And after taking bath, we will come back. Now, he went away and it was taking some time. And the Brahmanas were telling Ambarish Maharaj, Maharaj, the time is approaching. And if you don't break fast within that time, it's difficult. So Ambarish Maharaj was thinking, what shall we do? And then he thought of a good solution. He thought that he would break fast with water. Because his was a strict fast. There was no water. And in Shastras, the interesting thing of water is considered breaking and non-breaking. You can break with water, but it won't be considered a complete break either. So it was just one of those gray spaces in our Shastras. So he was just going to take water, and he took it. And the moment he finished it, Durvasa Muni came back. But because Durvasa was a great yogi, he could discern, right, from his yogic power that Ambarish Maharaj had actually broken fast. And he became very upset. He said, what kind of a king are you? What kind of a devotee are you? You have transgressed all rules of etiquette. Instead of waiting for your guest, you have actually breached that important rule and you have broken your fast. So now I am going to teach you a lesson. And so Durvasa Muni plucked out a hair from his matted locks and he dashed it to the ground and chanted prayers. And from there, a ferocious and terrifying being came out. And the moment that being came out, it threatened to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Now, unknown to Durvasa Muni, Ambarish Maharaj was such an exalted devotee of the Lord that even though he was a king, even though he was filled with so much of prescribed duties, daily his absorption was always on Krishna. This is very important to all of us because most of us may not have the luxury of being retired and fully God conscious. Many of us have to work, we've got children to feed, we've got children to send to universities. And in Singapore, if you don't work, basically you die, right? You really need money. So therefore, Ambarish Maharaj is a very good example. Someone who was working, someone who was very much in the material world, but he was not of the material world. He was very spiritual. He was completely absorbed in Krishna. So what did he do then? So then what happened was Ambarish did not react. This is very important. Ambarish Maharaj did not counteract either. One point that is stated in Bhagavatam is this phrase, Nasya tat pratikurvanti. Nasya tat pratikurvanti. That means the Vaishnavas, they are very powerful, but they're not inclined to avenge themselves. In other words, no counteraction is best counteraction. So Ambarish Maharaj depended on the Lord. When he saw this being coming towards him, he thought, I have surrendered myself to the Lord. Let the Lord protect me if he wants. Let the Lord do with me as he pleases. And he left it. He was absorbed in prayer. The Lord dispatched Sudarshan Chakra. And Sudarshan Chakra, of course, Sudarshan Chakra is so powerful that the being that came stood no chance against Sudarshan Chakra. So Sudarshan Chakra vanquished this terrifying being. And then it proceeded, right, towards Durvasa Muni. Now, Durvasa Muni's biggest problem was his temper. If you read Shastras, you find he's a very exalted soul, but he has a big problem with temper. And anger is a big stumbling block to self-realization. We have a saying that anger is one letter away from danger. If you put D in front of anger, it becomes danger, right? So anger is very dangerous for spiritual self-realization. And so now Durvasa Muni found he was on the back pedal. Instead of him having the upper hand, he found that he was running. He was forced to run from Sudarshan Chakra. And so he ran and ran and ran and ran. And he went to Brahmaji. And Brahma was his father. And he said, Brahma, please help me from Sudarshan Chakra. Brahma said, I can't interfere. This is between you and Sudarshan Chakra. Why don't you go to Lord Shiva in Kailash? He's very powerful. So he went to Lord Shiva in Kailash. And Lord Shiva in Kailash said, look, Sudarshan Chakra is coming from Lord Vishnu. I don't have the power to withdraw it. He has released it. You should go to him. So he went all the way to the gates of Vaikunta. He could not enter Vaikunta because Vaikunta actually means a place with no anxiety. Kunta in Sanskrit means anxiety. Vai means no. So Vaikunta means a place of no anxiety. Someone as angry, bad-tempered as Durvasa Muni has no place in Vaikunta because his consciousness is not aligned to Vaikunta. So he stood outside Vaikunta and he called for Lord Vishnu. And he said, Lord, you summoned the Sudarshan Chakra, only you can release it. And then Lord Vishnu quoted this verse that I told you. Aham bhakta paradino hi aswatantra iva dvija sadhubhi grasta hridayo bhaktai bhakta jana priyaha. He says, he told him something very interesting. He said, my dear Durvasa, you don't understand. I am not independent. This is very interesting because in all Shastras, Krishna, Lord Ram, they are described as Swarat. Swarat means fully independent. And yet the Lord in the 9th canto of Bhagavatam is saying that he has no independence. What does he mean? He says, Aham bhakta paradino. I have no independence of my devotees. In fact, I am completely dependent on my loving devotees. And they are completely dependent on me. And that is the beautiful reciprocal relationship which you cannot understand because you're not practicing bhakti. So if we don't practice bhakti seriously, or if we don't practice bhakti with the mood of unmotivation, instead of being motivated, I pray to Lord Ram, I pray to Krishna whenever I have some problems. That is motivated bhakti. That is what we call a transactional relationship. You know, sometimes you have friends who call you once a year and you know why they call you, because they want something. That is what we are doing with the Lord. Every day if we talk to the Lord, it's because we want something. Lord, bless me with this, bless me with that, bless me with this. We are always taking. But what are we giving? We are not giving. We don't give our time. Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, Haribol, we are done. Or sometimes he's not even on the priority list. He's on the priority list when disaster strikes, when something is a problem. On other days, we're just relaxed. We quickly go in, we light our lamps, we do some prayers and we leave. And for the whole day, we're doing everything else except remembering Krishna. So how can you call that a relationship? If you had someone doing that with you in the material world, you wouldn't call that a relationship. You call that a transaction. That's what it is. Imagine husband and wives. I only turn to my wife if I need something. Otherwise, I just ignore her. You won't even call that a marriage. And yet, we have the audacity to think that we have a relationship with the Lord. We don't. We don't know anything about Lord Ram because we don't study Ramayana. We don't know anything about Krishna because we don't study Bhagavatam. So how are we supposed to know him then? Everything is written, everything is given, but we don't have time for him. And yet we expect him to give time to us when we need him. So this is not bhakti. And therefore, it was a very humbling lesson for Durvasa Muni. He said, I have news for you. I cannot release Sudarshan Chakra. Only Ambarish Maharaj can release Sudarshan Chakra. So go back to him. Now he didn't understand the value of the devotees. And he took 1 year to travel to see Brahma, Lord Shiva and Vishnu. He could have saved that whole year of running around if he had just fallen at the feet of Ambarish Maharaj. But you know why he couldn't? Because he had too much pride. Why should I fall at the feet of Ambarish Maharaj? I'm a yogi after all. And that cost him a whole year of running around, being chased by Sudarshan Chakra, and just told at the end by Vishnu, you should just go back to him actually. Why did you go back to him in the first place? This is the point. Why did I bring this up? Because Bhakte Bhakta Jana Priyaha. Krishna says that not only are devotees very, very important to me, but those who follow my devotees, they are also very important to me. So Hanumanji is very important to us in Ram Leela because of this principle in Bhakti. Bhakte Bhakta Jana Priyaha. That until and unless we follow in the footsteps, we become Das, Anudas, Anudas of the lotus feet of devotees, we will not make progress in devotional service. This is very important. And Hanumanji, his love for Lord Ram was unconditional. There's a famous prayer in Bhagavatam, Na janmanunam mahato na saubhagam navang na buddhi na kritistesha hetuho tairyad vrishishtan apino vanaukashash chakara sakye bata lakshmana grajaha. So Hanumanji sings this, my Lord, you are so kind to me. He's speaking to Lord Ramchandra. He's saying that I don't have high birth. I'm not from Brahmana family. I'm not from Kshatriya family. In fact, I don't have a caste. Sometimes, in our societies, we're very particular about these things. And we think these things define us. We think that if we have a thread, we are of a certain quality. But a thread is only 5 cents. It has no value until you act on it. So Hanumanji is saying that I have no high birth. I have no high parentage. I'm just an animal. Second thing he says, I have no buddhi. I don't have any intellectual capacity. I don't have my PhDs and my MBAs and my MScs. I have nothing. I'm just, an animal. Third, I don't have the capacity to receive you well because I'm staying in a forest and frankly, I don't have a house. I don't have a house. I live from tree to tree. So how am I going to welcome you and receive you? Like here we have such a nice mandir. This is a mandir. We've come here. But Hanumanji is saying, mine is house to house, tree to tree. So I don't know which tree I'll be on which day. And I don't know how to receive you, Lord. And then he says, I have no etiquette. I can't speak very well. I cannot speak fluently. I speak gibberish, monkey language, Vanara language. But despite all my disqualifications, Chakara Sakye Bata Lakshmanaha, O elder brother of Lakshmanaha. He's addressing Lord Ram as Lakshmana Grajaha. That's another name of Lord Ram. He's the elder brother of Lakshmana. And he's saying that despite all my disqualifications, you have so mercifully and kindly accepted me as your friend. Not even as your servant, but as your friend. So this shows us the essence of Ramayana is that the Lord's relationship with his devotee is extremely deep, confidential, loving, and personal. It's very important. And it cuts across caste, creed, languages. Sometimes we think the Ramayana is a Hindu scripture. The Ramayana is a non-sectarian scripture. This is very important. We speak about Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is not the domain of one country, one place. It is a way of living. You don't have to be of a particular parentage or nationality to embrace it. Until we get rid of these isms, nationalism and this ism and that ism, we will not really become God conscious. We will always see it along these default lines. And that is not the way we are supposed to approach bhakti. This is a very important point. And Lord Ram showed that in Ramayana. You remember the example of Shabari, the old elderly lady, devotee? You must have remembered her. When Lord Ram, was traveling through the forests, and he was coming to a point where he was looking for Mother Sita because Mother Sita had been kidnapped already. He was traveling with Lakshman. And as he was traveling with Lakshman, if you remember, he had seen Jatayu. And if you recall, Jatayu had actually tried to stop Ravana from taking Mother Sita. Now after doing nice funeral rites to Jatayu and finishing his rites, Lord Ram and Lakshman entered deeper into the forest. As they entered very deep into the forest, they came across a ferocious looking demon. The demon's name was Kabanda. And it was a very strange demon because it had no head. It had no legs. It only had hands, which Ramayana says were 8 meters long at either end. And its mouth and its face was actually in the middle of its belly. So if it ate from its body actually. So Kabanda was there, and when it saw Ram and Lakshman, it grabbed them and tried to eat them. And then at that point of time, when Lakshman said, "Do you know who you are catching?" And he said, "I don't care, because I've been gifted with this great gift by Brahma of being eternally strong. No one can stop me from being very strong and living very long, so I will not die." And saying like that, he caught them. But what happened was Lord Ram and Lakshman each just sliced off the arms of Kabanda. And then Kabanda was thinking, who are you two personalities? Nobody has been able to touch me. And then Lord Ram was very humble. He would never introduce himself. And Lakshman said, "This is my elder brother. And he is the true heir to the Ishwaku dynasty. And he is the king apparent. And he is Lord Ram." And the moment Kabanda heard the name of Lord Ram, he dropped them both. He became very happy. A demon, but he became very happy. And he said, "I have been waiting for this day." And now it was Lord Ram and Lakshman's turn to become puzzled. "Why are you waiting for this day when we are cutting off your arms and going to kill you?" And he said, "You don't understand. Before I became such a person, right, such a demon, I was actually a Devata. I was in the celestial planets. And I was the son of a very illustrious Devata. But it so happened that I became very proud of who I was. And then I challenged Indra. Because I did years of meditation, and I got the boon of austerity and long life from Brahma. And then I challenged Lord Indra for the throne of Svargaloka. And after doing that, I thought I could win. But the only problem was I underestimated Indra. He's the chief of the Devatas, very powerful. And he shot his thunderbolt at me. And when the thunderbolt hit me, it actually absorbed my legs and my head into my body. And so I fell at the feet of Indra. And I prayed to Indra, "How will I eat? What will I do? I look like a demon." And Indra said, "You will become a demon now. And you will stay in the forests between Chitrakud and Dandakaranya for years and years and years, until you are delivered by two great personalities who are transcendental, Rama and Lakshmana." And then after that, this Kabanda asked Indra something very interesting. He said, "Can you please kill me now instead of me becoming a demon?" And Indra said, "I can't kill you because I would be actually minimizing what Brahma had given you. Brahma had given you long life. So I'm not going to interfere." See, Devatas have their own departments, right? And each department doesn't interfere with the other department. It's very important. It's etiquette. So Indra said, "I'm not going to interfere with Brahma, but I will give you a chance to be liberated from this samsara chakra. You wait, and you wait till the day when Lord Ram comes." So he waited patiently until the day when Lord Ram appeared. So he said, "My Lord, now build a fire and put me in the fire so that I become liberated. But before I go, I want to do one service for you." This is a very important aspect of Ramayana. That's why I started with Hanumanji. Hanumanji's bhakti is defined on the platform of service. It's service. Our entire relationship with God is defined on the platform of service. In other words, what service am I doing for the Lord every day? That is the defining point of my relationship. Hanumanji had so much services. In fact, there was a point of time when Hanumanji was doing so many services, when Lakshman and Sita were feeling a bit outclassed. They had no service. Every time something happened, Hanumanji was in front. So Sita and Lakshman decided, let's do one thing in Ayodhya. We'll draw up a roster and we'll make sure everybody has service according to time and date. You all have had that rosters, isn't it? We have rosters in our temples. So they put a roster and they put it up. Hanumanji came and saw there was a roster, but he saw his name was not there. And so he turned to Lakshman and said, "I'm always doing service, my name is not there." And Lakshman said, "Well, it's all right. Everybody wants to do service, Hanumanji. You just sit. Let your prayer be service." But Hanuman was not satisfied. He was desiring, let me do some service. That greed for service is spiritual. It's not material. He had great earnestness to do service. So every day he was watching. Someone was massaging Lord's feet. Someone was doing something. But Hanumanji prayed and waited. Until one morning, after seeing everybody in Ayodhya, Lord Ram yawned. Now the moment he yawned, Hanumanji jumped in front of him and he did this. You all know that, right? When you yawn traditionally, it is stated that you must do this to cast out any demonic entities or inauspicious things that may enter your mouth. So Hanumanji did that. And the moment he did that, he stood next to Lord Ram. So Lakshman was looking at him, trying to tell him, you have to move. But Hanumanji refused to move. So Lakshman said, you've done your service, now move. He said, no, I cannot move. Why? When will we know when the Lord will yawn? We won't know, isn't it? Do you know, Lakshman? Lakshman had to admit, no, I don't know. Sita Mata, do you know? No, I know my husband very well, but I don't know when he will yawn. Husbands and wives, can you predict your husbands and wives yawn? You can't, isn't it? Right? So far, I've not seen anyone yawn here. So far. But the fact is, the matter is, nobody knows when anybody yawns. So then Lakshman realized, oh my God, that means now Hanumanji is going to be next to Lord Ram eternally. Which is why he's right there. He doesn't move. Because his earnestness to perform service is so powerful that the Lord reciprocates. Ye yata mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. In 4:11 of Gita, Krishna says, to those who are surrendered to me, right, proportionate to their surrender, I reward them accordingly. So we should never take the high stand that, why isn't God listening to me? The question you should ask is, what are you doing for Him? How much time have you spent for Him? How much blood and sweat have you put aside for Him? How much have you sacrificed for Him? Don't ask what He's doing. Day and night He's ready for you. But are you ready for Him? Hanumanji shows us the mood of bhakti. That at any point of time, 24/7, we should be ready to perform bhakti. And that's what he did. And so Kabanda became so happy. And he said, now finally I have achieved, I want to do one service for you. And what is the service? I will tell you now who can actually help you, because I've heard that they're looking for your wife. Now, Lord Ram said, do you know who Ravana is? Tell me where he stays. Kabanda said, I don't know. I've heard he's a great king, but I don't know where he stays. But I do know who will be able to tell you. There is a great king of Kishkinda who has now been thrown by his brother Vali. His name is Sugriva. Go to him, find him. He has 1,000,000 army strong of Vanaras. And they will roam the earth to find Sita for you. Find them. And I will tell you one more thing. After this, go to the river Pampa and there take nice bath and go to this beautiful ashram of Rishikandya. There you will find the sage Matanga. And there you will find that there is another elderly devotee, Shabari, and she's waiting for you. And so Lord Ram did what he did. He then told Kabanda, please jump in the fire and you will cast off this demonic body and you will go back to Swargaloka. And so he went, delivered by Lord Ram. And Lord Ram went to River Pampa and there he took bath. And for those of us who have gone through that track, of Dandakaranya, Chitrakud, the River Pampa is still there today. And everyone knows it is sacred because Lord Ram took bath in that. And then after he took bath, he and Lakshman went to the ashram of Matanga Rishi. Now Matanga Rishi had left the world long time ago. And only one person was in the ashram. A very old lady known as Shabari. She came from a tribe known as Shabara. And for years, the tribe was in the hills. But she could not get used to the meat eating and the killing of animals of the tribes. The least we can do in spiritual life is not to kill animals. At the very least. It is a basic requirement that if you want to advance in spiritual life, at least take up, this idea of not eating meat. Shabari felt, why should I take a life unnecessarily? I should minimize that. And so she left everything and came to the hermitage footfalls. And there Matanga Rishi was very kind. And he took her in, gave her a place and told her, you can serve the ashram people. And so for years she served. But her desire was to pray and have darshan of Lord Ram. And so Matanga Rishi told her that the Lord will come in his form of Lord Ram. But all of us will be dead by then. You continue living, but don't leave this world until you take darshan of Lord Ram. And so she heard the words of her spiritual master Matanga. And she continued serving and serving and serving until the day came when Lord Ram and Lakshman finally came. And by that time, when she saw them, she was so old, she could hardly move. But despite the frailties of her age, she still came. She served the Lord. And the beauty is that, she went to pick berries. And when she picked berries, in her great enthusiasm, she tasted them. And after tasting them, she said, this one is good, that one is not good. And after tasting, she would give it to Lord Ram and say, Lord, this one is good. Lakshman was very upset. How can you do this? He's a king. Where is your etiquette? But Lord Ram, being Purushottam Maryada, avatar, he said, no, please. Don't misunderstand her, Lakshman. She's doing this out of divine and devotional great service and love for me. She rather taste it, right, and be prepared to go to hell than to give me something which doesn't taste good. And that is why she's doing that. So she's very famous for showing us that even if we come from a background where we don't have the proper etiquette, proper sadachar, we don't understand these things, but if we are doing devotional service with love and sincerity, Krishna looks past, Lord Ram, they look past the rules and regulations, but they look at the essence of our devotional mentality. Which is why Lord Ram and Krishna are known in Shastras as Bhavagrahi Janardana. You must have heard of this. Bhavagrahi Janardana. That means he is one who takes the essence of your devotional service. You may not have the ability to perform something, but if you have the heart to do it, he takes that. You may not be able to produce a great result. Supposing someone asks you to decorate this, and you are not very good in decoration normally. In fact, you're so bad, people just say, don't decorate. But suddenly someone tells you to decorate for the Lord. You do it. From a human eye, it doesn't look nice. But the Lord is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He will accept it because he saw the mood in which you did it, not the outcome. In the material world, deliverables and outcomes are the way we judge each other. In bhakti, it is the heart that is the prime mover between us and the Lord. That is very important. And your heart determines your attitude. In fact, even in today's world, if you're an employer, you may have someone who's very smart but very proud as a potential candidate. You may have someone not so great, but attitude is very positive. He can work with people, he's a team player. 90% of us as employers will go for the second candidate. Why? Because of the heart. We understand that person is more malleable. The same thing is true in bhakti. So you see how practical bhakti is actually. But remember one thing before we conclude. Lord Ram is personification of mercy. Hanumanji is personification of the Lord's mercy as a devotee. And that is why today we remember Lord Ram's mercy to Shabri, and we remember Hanumanji's great dedication to Lord Ram. Jai Hanumanji ki, Jai Sitaram Lakshman Hanumanji ki, Jai Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Ramayana ki. I think we should sing and chant Krishna and Lord's names. Ram Katha is so